Perfect. Okay, we are recording this session, as you can hear, and it'll be shared after the event and also posted to our Gimmal YouTube channel. Dean Meisenheimer is with me today. Dean's going to be your subject matter expert reviewing Gimmal Records for today's session. He's going to be talking about what's new with the Gimmal Records Inbox. Format will still be about 15 to 20 minutes for Dean's part in demonstration, and then we'll follow that up with any questions that you have during our Q&A session. Before we get things started, I'm going to do a quick poll to the group here today. Launch that now. If you could take a minute, answer our question here. This is kind of always helpful and insightful. The question is, on average, how many records do you have in your Gimmal Records inbox? So I'll give that a second while people answer that out.
I'm quite curious to hear to see the answers to the poll questions here.
Yeah.
I have my suspicions, but
you're a betting man. We'll see what you come up with. So if you guys could, whoever's joining, if you could answer that question, it should have launched. Okay. Seems like, Dean, less than 100 is winning.
Really?
Split between less than 25. So, yeah. We'll keep that up for a minute. If anybody else rolls in, they'll get that as well. So, Dean, I'm going to hand things over to you, and you can start with what you'd like to go through today.
Okay. Thank you, Marcia. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Yeah, as Marcia said, as we go through this, please feel free to throw your questions in the Q&A area. We'll take whatever questions you have at the end of the session today. So our focus is around what's new in the Gimmal Records inbox. And probably the first question is, why is there new stuff? Well, it's always fun to get new stuff, new features, but there were some pain points, right? And you can see the frustration there in the lady in the picture. You know, the inbox, we had a lot of clients that would get spikes of large volumes of records in their inbox, and it was difficult to navigate and just work with large volumes of records. The filtering options were limited to just a few fields in Gimmal Records, especially if you wanted to use some of the custom properties and things like that. And the operators that were available for filtering just weren't flexible enough. You know, there weren't enough options. And while you could do sorting in the inbox, you could only sort on one column. So you couldn't do a multi-column sort, which was limiting. And then for those of you that do have large inboxes, and I know I know there are some of you out there, just the performance of loading a large inbox, of navigating a large inbox was less than optimal. So, you know, those were all challenges. And for customers that use case-based records, there wasn't an easy way to filter the view of case-based records versus administrative records. You know, those were all areas that we had heard from customers that they would like to see improvements. And so, what's new in the inbox? Well, you know, these updates were released in the July 2024 release for our SaaS clients. They will be rolled into the Gimmal Records 6.0 on-premise release coming out in Q1 of 2025. So they'll be available for on-prem customers then. You know, and we've addressed a number of those issues. The performance improvements, number one, right? So if you've been using the inbox in Gimmal Records recently, if you're a SaaS client, you may have seen just performance improved. It's more efficient now in how it processes volumes of records in the background, how it loads the inboxes. We've added support for multi-column sorting, and I'll show you some examples of that during the demonstration. So you can use multiple columns now to do a sort. And there are some new operators for filtering. So not only can I do equals and not equals, but now I can do things like contains and does not contain. So effectively use wildcards almost in looking for information and filtering. And I can use starts with and does not start with. So I can do like a stem filter. So those are both available now for filtering on any text-based field. And we've expanded the use of filters to more fields. We used to do just what we called the core fields, kind of the built-in properties like at and things like that, and record class name. But we've expanded the use of filters to custom properties as well. So I'll show you some examples of that. And then lastly, there's a toggle that allows you to separate case-based and view case-based records separately from administrative records. So let's take a look at what all this looks like now. So you should be seeing my Gimmal Records screen now, the familiar 3 blue pie charts across the screen, how I start
Yes.
every demo you've ever heard me do. And let's go to the dispose area. And here's my inbox. So I have 42 items in my inbox. It's a demo environment. I'm going to expand that and just say, hey, show me, up to 100. So now we see all 42 items at once. So let's start with the multi-column sort. So I've always been able to sort by record class. I can do an ascending sort or a descending sort just by clicking. And if I do a third click, it removes the sort. So let's sort by record class. But I've got a lot of things in 901.1 immediate disposition. So now how do I do an additional sort by expiration date? Well, what I do is I hold down my control key and hit expiration. And now I'm sorting by record class and then a secondary sort on the expiration date. So you see here for all of my 901 records, it's going from April 2022 to October 1st, 24 to October 3rd, 24. If I want to reverse and do the opposite sort here on expiration, I just hold down the control key and click it again. Now we're doing the reverse sort, the descending sort here on the expiration field, still sorting by my record class date. So it's really nice. You can do a multi-column sort. If I decide I no longer want to sort by expiration, I just give it that third click. And now maybe we're going to come in and we're going to sort by record class, but also by file name, by record name. So we'll hold the control key and click on the record case file column. And now we're sorting by name, by record class, then by name. Right? So kind of a nice thing to be able to do, right? And let's just double click that and remove it. And we'll remove our sort here on the record class as well. So you can just keep clicking on it and it'll get back to where you see the little arrow disappear from the column heading. That means the sorting has been removed. So now let's do some filters, right? So I mentioned there are new options for filtering. Let's use some of those. Let's come in and just do a really simple sort. We're going to sort and we're going to sort all of our filter all of our record classes here where we can always been able to do equals to, but now I want to come in and sort where the record or case file name contains, and I'm going to do something simple just to show the concept here, only records that contain the letter C in their name. I do a filter, notice my count dropped to 10 items. So there are only 10 records that happen to have a C in the record name, right? That's how you can use that contains option. I could come back in here with my filter, and instead of saying contains a C, let's say does not contain a C. Now I do my filter, and we're only seeing records that don't have a C in the record or case file name. And you notice my count went back up to 22, right? So let's flip that back to my ones that do contain a C. And now I'm going to combine my filtering. And the one thing I'll point out, anytime you're filtering a column, you notice how the 3 dots, the ellipses here, are bordered in a white box. That indicates this column has filtering turned on. Now, maybe I want to filter only my records with the letter C in the title, and I also want to sort by expiration date. Right? So now I've sorted my filtered list by the expiration date, or I want to flip that and do it in descending order. So you can combine filtering and sorting into one operation, right, and begin to manipulate your data sets there in your inbox. So I'm going to remove that filter. And to remove the filter, you just come in here and you click clear. And now we're back to our 42 items in the inbox. So let's look at using some additional columns. You've always been able to come in here and say, all right, I want to add in the admin menu, you can list any properties that are being captured to show up here in your list of columns that can be displayed. I'm going to use one of my default views here. I'm going to use my SharePoint Online Only view. This is a custom view that filters the inbox to only show records in the source where the source is SharePoint Online. And you'll also notice it displays the columns in a different order. We have record class, case file, record case name, action, expiration, source, and then we're showing the @SP web property. So basically the site collection name and the SP library value. So this is a custom view that I created to filter my inbox only to SharePoint Online records. Kind of nice to have. And now I want to filter this because maybe instead of 38 items, I've got 380 or 3,800. And I want to limit it to only the records in a certain site collection. So today we're only going to work on records that are in our human resources department. So I could say only where the @SP web contains the word human. Now it's filtered that to only show me site collection names with human in the word, in this case, human resources, and it's limited my view down to 25 items, right? Now, what if I want to limit that to only items that are in certain libraries? You can see I've got records in administration, I've got records in employee files. If I could add another filter here and say, I only want items where, let's use a starts with this time so you can see how that works. Starts with employee. Well, now we filtered it down and we're down to 4 records. So we're only looking at records in SharePoint Online where the site collection name has the word human in it and the library name starts with the word employee, i.e. employee files in this example, right? So again, we quickly filtered that view down to what we want. And you can do this with any of the columns that we're looking at. So let's go back to our default view. Now we're back to our 42 items. I'm going to expand this back out so that we can see all records at once. And let's look at the other filtering options. So let's come in here and let's add a column. So let's come in and let's add the column content type. And let's add the column, how about folder? So we'll add a couple of new columns. So now we can see, we'll just stretch that out so we can see all of this. Here's our folder name. Here's our content type. Well, maybe now I want to come in and I want to filter my folder. Well, again, instead of equals to, you saw me use contains, you saw me use starts with, but let's use one of the nots. So we want to get rid of anything that's in an immediate folder. So I'm going to say does not contain immediate. Click filter, and it filtered this down to 11 items. Anything in a folder called immediate has now been filtered out of the list. And to further do this, let's come in here and filter and do a does not contain document, because we don't want our document, or actually let's be very specific, is not equal to document, right? Again, we filtered our list down and made it very very small. So you can use these filters lots of different ways. You can combine the filters with the sorting options. It gives you a lot more control over viewing your inbox, especially when you combine that with creating custom views, saving those views. Maybe I want to use this view over and over again. I could click create, save my custom view, and now I could quickly come back to, to this view. I can see this being used in different ways. Maybe you will clear that out and clear this out. Maybe you want to create custom views like I did for your different content sources. Or maybe you want to use filtering and sorting and create views so that you can see things by folder and size, or only for a different content source. A lot of ways to take advantage of that, right? So one thing I'll point out about these new filtering options, today the filtering options only operate as text. So if you have a column, and one of your columns, you notice I have a couple of my SharePoint metadata fields here that that could be displayed. If you have a metadata property that's actually a date field, when you use the filtering, it's going to filter it. You notice all the filter operators are text-based. It will treat that date as text. It will not can't do like a between or starts before or ends after today. Hopefully that'll be coming down the road, but it's not available today. Everything gets kind of treated as text for the filtering, but it's still a nice step forward, here with what we can do. The other thing I mentioned, we have case-based and administrative records. You'll notice that all of my record case files here, these are basically all records. None of these are case files, right? If I click on the ellipsis here for any of these, it brings up the record details screen. There's a toggle now available at the top of the inbox. And when I hit that toggle, it switches my view, and now it's only showing me case files, because you notice the source is now empty. That's because a case file could contain records across content sources. I can have a case file that has records in SharePoint Online and Inbox and on my file share that are all part of the same case, right, and the same record class. So when I hit the toggle, it filters the view to only show my cases. How do I know it's a case? Well, if we come out here and click the ellipsis, here you notice now it displays the records that are part of the case. There are 6 records that make up this case. I can go back and forth between the 2 pages and look at the records. If I want to see the details for any one of these records, now I click the ellipsis and it brings up that detail screen, right? If I want to take action on an individual record, I can do that from here. But more importantly, with case files, right? Now, if I want to come in and process the case, I can click approve. I can select the case, hit the approve button. And when I'm ready to disposition that case, I can hit submit approvals, put in my comment. Hit confirm. My case disappears, and the entire case of records is now submitted for disposition. Okay. So, a nice way now, again, if you're using case-based records, makes it really easy to toggle between a view of your records that are part of cases and your records that are administrative and being managed individually, right? So that's it for the demo today. Kind of short and sweet, but hopefully some features that will really improve your productivity and make it easier for you to kind of work with Gimmal Records now on a go-forward basis. So with that, I'm going to move it over to the Q&A section, Marcia, and see if we have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, we do. We have a couple, Dean, and you all can still feel free to post questions if you have any that come to mind, even after these. So one of them, Dean, is can I sort by content type?
Yes. So content type is one of those custom properties you can add as a column. So in in the documentation, it tells you how to go into the admin screen and add other columns to display in the inbox. Content type is one of those. So if you make it available for display, then you can filter on it and you can sort on it.
Okay, great. Second question is, do the filter options have a not qualifier?
They do. So the both contains and starts with and equals. Those all have a not counterpart. So, does not contain a particular term or set of letters, does not contain or does not start with a certain word, so does not equal. And if you haven't used not operators, combining not operators with the other operators you can really get creative in your filtering that way. I kind of really like using those occasionally.
Quiet crowd today, Dean. So just those couple questions. Yeah.
All right.
We could, let's go to the next slide. I just want to tell everybody about the upcoming sessions we are in Q4. So this is what's next, the next few sessions laid out. The next Gimmal Records will be November 21st. Dean's going to be talking about managing and using legal holds. So we're still offering these sessions about twice a month across the three main products, Gimmal Discover, Physical, and Records. All the sessions are also posted on our Gimmal events page. If you happen to miss the emails that we send, you can find those there. And session recordings, this one in particular, I'll email you later with the recording, but you can also find those on our YouTube channel page for anything that you might have missed. We appreciate you joining us today, as always. And if you have any questions or suggestions for a future education series that you would like us to deliver, please let me know. Always like to see what people would like to see, and we'd be happy to accommodate. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.